Okay, so this is episode 2 of the Inspector Calls revision. So now on to Mrs. Birling, who is our second character. So she is an upper class woman who is married to Mr. Birling. She seems to have a lot of social responsibility, or at least she's supposed to, as she runs a charity, as we will figure out later in this analysis. So first, a rather cold woman. This is used to introduce Mrs. Birling to the audience. The idea of cold is not talking about the actual temperature, it's talking about her emotion. She is unempathetic and very cold-hearted, which in a way links to Mr. Birling. He is similar, hard-headed and cold. Could be considered similar words. So the next quote is number 15. "You seem to have made a great impression on the child, Inspector." This is in Act 2. The child in this instance is Sheila, which may seem kind of confusing to us today that she's being considered a child, even though being over the age of 18, but it seems that is how Mrs. and Mr. Birling control the power in the house. Those are the kids. They have to listen to what they say. The kids is when you're with me, kind of. They are the powerful ones, they are the controllers, they are simply kids. And the idea of the great impression made on the child is the idea that his ideas and what he stands for, the younger generation are more willing to think about what he has to say, whereas the older generation, who are not kids, not a child, won't listen to it at all. Also, number 16 is a similar thing where, did I say she was being patronising here? Yeah. Where she's being patronising to Eric. He's only a boy. That's when she's trying to defend him for when he got Eva Smith pregnant, and he's only a boy, We should forgive him because he's only a boy. Which is ironic because a few minutes earlier she was saying, oh, it's the father's fault, he should be made an example of. Yet when it affects her, when it affects her family, she's like, he's only a boy, he's innocent, he's just a kid, So it shows that she cares a lot more for, cares a lot more for the people around her than anyone else. She doesn't matter to her, all of these people out there, which is another thing about social responsibility. Responsibility for everyone, not just people as a part of your own group. So, the next bit, 17. "I don't know anything about this girl." This is where Mrs. Birling blatantly lies to the inspector, as she clearly knew the girl, as she was at the charity thing earlier. Either that or she forgot the girl, which seems a lot less likely, considering how critical she is in every other matter. So, if she'd lied about the girl, she must have just not cared. Been like, this has nothing to do with me, I don't want to be involved in this trouble. I don't want to be involved in the trouble, I just want to keep going on doing what I do, and shouldn't be held anything to do with this. "I don't like your tone," number 18. Mrs. Birling says this to the inspector, due to what he's saying. This is as Mrs. Birling is very overpowering and very commanding, in a similar way to Mr. Birling. They are both the controlling figures, have you will. And for the inspector to come in here and take over the room and be like, no, I am the one in charge now, is kind of a shock to them. He is coming in their house and taking their power, which she doesn't like. Also, "I don't like your tone." She's like saying, "I don't like your tone," sort of like a threat. "I don't like what you're saying, and I will use everything I have against you," And then the next quote, "She had only herself to blame." But again, this is said after it's pointed out Eric is the father of the child, which means that she quickly changed her story due to how it affected the people around her, which shows that she doesn't hold a lot of empathy for other people and is just out to protect her own. It's the Birlings versus the world, really. And the next bit, I did nothing I'm ashamed of, kind of shows that she's so sure about this. The use of it as a command, "I did nothing I'm ashamed of," instead of "I don't think I did anything." I'm ashamed of, is showing that she is trying to establish a dominance. She's trying to say, I'm sure I didn't do anything. I know I didn't do anything. Or at least nothing she's ashamed of, so she doesn't think whatever she's done is wrong. She doesn't think it's wrong to refuse this girl the money, because she doesn't believe her. And number 21, I did my duty. This is kind of an important quote, as there is so much irony in it. I did my duty. For who? You did your duty for your own family? You didn't. The whole point was she was in a position of social responsibility. She should have given money to this girl. That was her duty, to help people, and she entirely refused to do that, and that's what makes this so ironic. She did the complete opposite. She said, no, you're not getting any money because you used the wrong name, and I don't believe you because you're a girl of that sort. So, now, go and look for the father of the child. It's his responsibility. This is the bit again where she just suddenly changes when it all becomes about her family and her, people of her class. So, go and look for the father of the child. It's his responsibility. However, you can see she flips between he's only a boy and that, due to the information she finds out. That is a very key part of her character, that when something affects her, she'll twist it indefinitely. And it kind of shows that these capitalist people are the entire opposite of inclusive. They will change their opinion on how things are depending on how it suits them, and how it suits the people that they believe are part of what they are. So, as if a girl of that sort would ever refuse money. We're back to that again. Them and us. A girl of that sort. We can assume by a girl of that sort, she's talking about a girl of that class. And as we know in these times, classes were big divides, and that wasn't very nice. And the thing is, Eva Smith did refuse money. She refused that money from Eric. And that's what she finds so hard to understand. Because she thinks, well, I'm morally above these people. I am righteousness. So she finds it hard to understand how a girl of that sort can possibly be in any way more or the same morals as her. It just disgusts her, the idea of that. Why should we give her money if she refused the chance to have it before? The next bit here, we've flipped over the page clearly. 24. He'd be entirely responsible. So that's the thing. This is before she realises it's Eric, but she's saying the father of the child would be entirely responsible. She's saying that no one else in this room, that they've all been through, Mr. Birling, Sheila, Gerald, none of those are responsible. It's just the father of the child, which kind of makes it seem like she doesn't believe that these chain of events made any difference, even though that's what led her to that place in the first place. She would never be asking for money if she never got fired from Millwoods, and she'd never even be at Millwoods if she was never fired for a factory job. So it was all linked, but she refuses to believe that. It's all his fault, even though she wouldn't have even been there if it wasn't for everything else that had happened. So next here, he certainly didn't make me confess. The idea of he didn't make her confess means that she did have something to confess. She knows that, but she decides, you know what, I don't need to. I'm above this. I am upper class. And the fact that she says that she was the only one who didn't give in to him is like she's trying to prove that her importance, her dominance, that she is the important one. She is the one who stayed strong through everything, as opposed to the others who all gave him the information. Even though giving him the information was the right thing to do, she's trying to say she was the stronger one for doing the wrong thing, which is more irony. Irony everywhere in this. There we go. That was... Wait, that's the back. Let's flip again. Anyway, there we go. That's Mrs. Birling review. So, goodbye.